All right, time to learn portrait drawing. So we will be going through these different directions starting today. And this is a step-by-step process that we're going to be going through. So first of all, we need to all be drawing the same size. So on the back of the handout, we have an oval, the word top. So I went ahead and I sketched and traced this off on tracing paper. And then I took the tracing paper, flipped it over backwards like this, so the word top reads backwards. I traced on the back, and I left the print on the drawing paper, very lightly like that. Make sure you have step-by-step at the top. Name and your class period should be on your paper also. And so I've got this ready to go. And we're going to start with step number 0.5, change the oval shape. There are not too many people who have a perfect egg-shaped head. So, different ways that this can be changed, and we're going to change just half of it. So I'm going to show the different ways that this can be changed, but I'm going to go ahead and go through this whole process with just the oval shape changed one way. So one way is to make someone have a narrower face. So over here on the left side, you can just kind of very lightly sketch and bring in the side of the head a little bit, kind of make a narrower face. And when I am sketching like that, I'm not pushing hard and using the tip of the pencil and just going really hard one consecutive line like that. Different ways to draw sketchy. Use more of the side of the pencil, and you can just put the pencil down, keep picking it up off the paper like this, and like connecting little dashes together. That's one way to draw sketchy. Another way is to take your pencil and just kind of draw back and forth, not picking your pencil off the paper, and just kind of going back and forth like this, and that's another way to draw sketchy. But pushing down really hard, drawing one consecutive line, does not really work the best. A lot more chances for mistakes doing it that way. So again, you want to draw picking your pencil up off the paper, putting it back down, connecting lines like that for sketchy, or just pencil back and forth, going over like that is another way to draw sketchy. We don't want to just do one really dark consecutive line. That doesn't work so well. So back to working on the shape of the oval. So that is one way to do it. All right. Another way to change the shape of the oval, I'll go ahead and erase that. Another way to change it is to flatten out the cheeks more. So I could come down here a little more, and again, drawing sketchy, a little more of a flattened out line, and someone could have flatter cheeks. Instead of a narrower face, you could have flatter cheeks. So that's another way someone's oval could change. So I'll go ahead and get rid of that. Third way, someone could have a fuller face. So we could go over here on the left side again, and what you do is you draw sketchy and you go outside of your oval that you have on your paper, and you bring it back in even with the bottom of the chin, and then someone has a fuller face that way. So that is yet another way someone's oval shape could change. So I'll go ahead and get rid of that as well. So that's the third one. And a fourth way is actually on the handout. Someone could have more of a pronounced chin where it actually kind of goes in a little more of a bump. So right down here, could have this little sketch line that kind of goes in and then back down and leaves more of a pronounced chin. So those are the four major ways that we can change the oval shape. And sometimes someone will have one or two of those, not just one, but could have a couple of those. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose one of these to go with. So I'm back to the original oval again. I'm just going to go ahead and have this person have their cheeks a little more flattened out. So I'm going to go over here to the left. So we'll go ahead and go this way. We'll just flatten this person's cheeks a little bit more. So over here on the left side, okay, just a little more of a flattened out line, and you kind of go down here with the bottom of the chin like that. So we'll go ahead and go with something like that, but there are three other ways that you can change the oval shape. Notice I did not bring the chin up or the top of the head down. I'm not making it shorter, I'm just changing the shape. So once we have that, we want this person to be the same on both sides. It's called symmetry or being symmetrical. So you can use any part of the tracing paper you want. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and go over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch off the outer original oval that I had on here, this original part of the line, and then I'm going to trace off my new line as well, like that. Okay, so I have this and that looking the same. So then what we do to have this look the same is we take your tracing paper and we flip it over. Okay, so we take it, we flip it over to the right, and we're going to go ahead and line it up. Line up the outside original line. So take a few seconds here and make sure it's going to be lined up straight across. So I've got to kind of move that down so it's a little more straight. Lined up here on the outside, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go over just the line that I need, because this line out here is with the original oval. So I'm going to go ahead and trace over this line, like that. It's going to leave a very light print on there, probably barely visible. Right, and I'm going to make sure that they look okay, that they're the same, symmetrical. Sometimes the tracing paper could maybe be a little bit too low on accident or a little bit slid up too high. If that's the case, just erase the line, put your tracing paper back on there, and then slide it up or down where it should have been the first time. Go over it again, and you should be right the second time. Other methods on here to try to get things to look the same usually take a lot more time. Like if you use a ruler or some other idea, those usually take a lot more than just 1 or 2 times. So once we have that, then we're going to go ahead and make this a little darker so it's a little easier to see. And go over that and darken the line. All right, and then we can take your eraser and we can go ahead and erase the original oval line there. Okay, you can go ahead and do the same over here. And now this person is symmetrical, same on both sides, okay, like that. It didn't take 5, 6, 7, 8 times to do it. I got it right the first time, so usually first, second time, I usually get that correct. All right, so now we have changed the oval shape, step number 0.5. So now we're going to go ahead and start dividing the face up with a ruler. So, direction number 1, divide the oval with a central vertical line. All right, so we're going to need a ruler. And what we can do is we can measure across from one side to the other. All right, and then using the oval from the back of the handout, like we're using, it's a little over 4. You can count the number of lines. It's actually 4 1/4 inches using the inches side. So about half of that is going to be about 2 1/8, so a little dot there. And then what you do with your ruler is you just try to get it nice and straight up and down vertical. And then we're going to go in here and we're going to draw some really light dashes coming down. This is going to be the central vertical line. And we want both sides to be the same. So if you draw your line and it's over here too far, and one side's a lot bigger than the other, we want to go ahead and move it. So something similar to that. And just a really light dash line. Don't push down really hard. You don't want to be really heavy-handed like the example I showed. You want to draw lighter, more sketchy, like that. So that is step number 1. You can go ahead and work on that. And then we're going to go through this process really slow, taking our time. Step number 2, okay, draw a horizontal line to divide the head in half both ways. So now we're going to go horizontal, so flat left and right. We're going to need to find the middle point going this way. So we can measure from top to bottom. It's not quite 6 inches. Here's the 6-inch mark down here. So that means it's going to be, and half of 6 is 3, so it's going to be a little less than 3. So you go a little less than 3, okay, probably a couple lines less. These little lines are 1/16. Put a little dot in there, okay, and we're going to get the ruler so it's nice and flat horizontal. Going through the middle, and then again very lightly Okay, if you spread your fingers out on the ruler, it's going to hold in place better. If you put your hand on one side and you tend to draw along it, sometimes it tends to move like this. But if you spread your fingers out, it's going to hold it in place better. So you want to get your ruler nice and flat, horizontal. And again, very lightly, you're going to go ahead and put a few dashes going across. And there you have your horizontal line. Okay, so that is direction number 2. So go ahead and you can work on that. And again, if you get that in the middle and it looks like, well, this top half is a lot larger than the bottom half, or vice versa, this half's bigger than the top half, then you might need to erase your line, move it up, or move it down a little bit. So just kind of close to the center. It does not need to be perfectly in the center, but we want to get it very similar to what you're seeing up here, up on the screen here. Something very similar to that. All right, and that moves us on to direction number 3, which can be a little confusing. It says to add 2 more lines to divide the head horizontally into 4 equal parts. So that means we're going to have another line over here and another line over here. Okay, so we're going to divide the top half in half and the bottom half in half. So measuring from the top of the head to the center line that we have, it's going to be almost 3 inches, not quite. So the middle of that's going to be 1.5. The half-inch mark is the longest line between the 1 and the 2 on the inches side of the ruler. So a dot just a little bit less than the 1.5. And then down here at the bottom, same thing. It's going to be a little bit less than 3. So it's going to be a little bit less than this line right here, which is the 1.5, which is halfway between the 1 and the 2. A little bit less than that. You put a dot. And then you want to hold the ruler nice and flat, horizontal, like this. Spread your fingers out so it won't move. And then very lightly, you're going to go ahead and put dashes going across, like this. And then down at the bottom for your dot, same thing. Very lightly, you put dashes going along the bottom as well. So when you're done, the parts that should be fairly equal are between my finger and my thumb. So this should equal this, should equal that, should equal that. So if you have one of these spaces that's really wide, okay, and one of these that's really narrow, you probably need to move one of your lines. Okay, so that is the first step. Point 5, we changed the oval shape by flattening out the cheeks. Step number 1, we did the vertical line. Step number 2, we did the center horizontal line. Step number 3, we divided the top half into half and the bottom half into half. So we've gotten to that point for the first part of the portrait drawing. And then next we're going to start working with the first feature, which is going to be the eyes.